In 1966, a revolution spread across China and brought chaos to the entire country for 10 years. This is the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution in plain English. In 1958, Mao started a campaign, the Great Leap Forward, to accelerate the speed of his plan to industrialize China. Though the people supported it, it was a great failure. After this campaign, Mao stepped aside and Liu Shaoqi took over his position as the head of state. Between 1960 and 1966, Mao stayed politically quiet. Realizing that he was losing power, Mao started the Cultural Revolution to gain more power. The Cultural Revolution, that lasted for 10 years, with the purpose of getting China to return to the road of communism again and for Mao to gain more power. On May 16th, 1966, Mao began to criticize the Communist Party on newspapers and encouraged youths to criticize and rebel against their leaders. About 2 weeks later, the first Red Guards were formed at the Beijing University. Red Guards moved around China to eliminate intellectuals and Mao's enemies. Later, on May 25th, the first Dazibao was created in the University of Beijing to criticize professors. This idea spread, and writing the Dazibao became very popular during the Cultural Revolution.
August 18, 1966. The first Red Guard rally took place in Beijing. Mao greets the Red Guards at Tiananmen Square, who then ordered them to start the Cultural Revolution by destroying the four olds. Red Guards started to burn down temples and ransack schools, forcing the people who had education to the countryside. Red Guards became more and more powerful since students started to believe that becoming one is a huge honor. By January, the Red Guards had become Mao's greatest power and wreaked chaos all over China. Lin Biao and Jiang Qing started to promote Mao as a godlike figure during the spring of 1968. Pictures of him were placed everywhere. People were expected to study and memorize his quotations and his teachings from the Little Red Book. Schools were ordered to teach the schools using a curriculum based on the Little Red Book. Mao finally realized that the chaos needed to end in July 1968, ordered the People's Liberation Army to dismantle the Red Guards. During the December of 1969, Mao started to move people down to the countryside to be re-educated. At first, they thought this idea moving to the countryside would have their lives be better, but the lives of people were completely changed in a negative way. Intellectuals were incarcerated in barns and forced to do farm work every day. The people who were moved down were mostly teenagers and were sent to learn how to do manual labor. Many died from malnutrition, disease, or exhaustion. For the people who did survive, this experience and lack of education impacted their lives and future severely.
In 1971, tension began to grow between the two close allies, Mao and Lin Biao. Mao was suspicious of Lin Biao as he had great political ambitions. According to the Chinese government, Lin Biao, along with other loyal supporters in the military, attempted a coup d'etat to assassinate Mao. This was a failure and Lin's reputation was destroyed. On September 13th, Lin and his family died in a plane crash. However, this was announced by the government only a year later in 1972. Jiang Qing then initiated the Criticize Lin Biao campaign to blame all the revolution's mistakes on Lin Biao. On September 9, 1976, Mao Zedong died from a heart attack. Hua Guofeng became the chairman of the Communist Party and ordered the arrest of Jiang Qing and her supporters, which were called the Gang of Four. To save Mao's image, the government put all the blame of the revolution on the Gang of Four and Lin Biao, leaving Mao blameless. The arrest of the Gang of Four marks the end of the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution was an attempt to transform the Chinese society, yet it caused great disruption and ruined millions of lives. The economy was completely destroyed as people were too preoccupied with class struggle for work, and industrial and agricultural production levels dropped. Education was completely disrupted as Mao's thoughts became the most important topic, and many of the best professors and teachers were removed. Intellectuals and artists were also purged. As a result, this created a generation without any skills or education. The revolution also disrupted the progress of international relations made before. This is the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution in plain English.
by Kevin, Lawrence, and Megan.